In this video, we will be explaining the musculoskeletal anatomy of the anterior forearm. There are 8 muscles in the anterior forearm, split between 3 compartments: superficial, intermediate, and deep. These muscles generally work to perform pronation of the wrist and flexion at the wrist and fingers. We will start with the superficial compartment. There are 4 muscles in this compartment, and they all originate from the medial epicondyle, a protrusion of the distal end of the humerus. The muscles here follow a diagonal stripe pattern going PF, PF. The first muscle is the pronator teres, here shown in green. The muscle originates at the medial epicondyle and inserts midway down the radius. It is innervated by the median nerve, and when contracted, it causes the pronation of the forearm. The next muscle down is flexor carpi radialis, shown in light blue. This muscle originates from the medial epicondyle and attaches to the base of metacarpals 2 and 3. It is innervated by the median nerve and acts to flex and abduct the wrist. The next muscle is the palmaris longus, shown in dark blue. This muscle is actually absent in roughly 15% of the population, originating from the medial epicondyle and attaching to the flexor retinaculum of the wrist. The flexor retinaculum is a fibrous band of tissue on the palmar side of the wrist, which forms the carpal tunnel and prevents bowstringing of the muscles. It is innervated by the median nerve and acts to flex the wrist. The final muscle in this compartment is the flexor carpi ulnaris, shown in purple. It originates from the medial epicondyle, passes into the wrist and inserts into the pisiform carpal bone, the medial part of the wrist, and the base of metacarpal 5. Unlike the other superficial muscles, it is innervated by the ulnar nerve because it lies so medially. It acts to flex and adduct the wrist. The next compartment is the intermediate compartment, which lies deep to the superficial compartment. There is only one muscle in this compartment of the anterior forearm, the flexor digitorum superficialis, shown here in yellow. It has 2 heads which originate from the medial epicondyle of the humerus and the radius. At the wrist, flexor digitorum superficialis splits into 4 tendons which travel through the carpal tunnel and insert into the middle phalanges of the 4 fingers. It is innervated by the median nerve. This muscle flexes the metacarpophalangeal and proximal interphalangeal joints, and also acts to flex the wrist. The final compartment is the deep compartment, which holds the last 3 muscles of the anterior forearm. On the medial half, flexor digitorum profundus, shown here in blue, originates from the ulna and passes through the carpal tunnel as 4 tendons which insert into the distal phalanges of the 4 fingers. It is innervated medially by the ulnar nerve and laterally by the median nerve. The flexor digitorum profundus is responsible for flexion at the distal phalangeal joints as well as the metacarpophalangeal joints and wrist. Flexor pollicis longus, shown here in red, lies laterally to flexor digitorum profundus and originates from the anterior surface of the radius. It attaches to the distal phalanx of the thumb and is innervated by the median nerve. The flexor pollicis longus acts to flex the interphalangeal and metacarpophalangeal joints of the thumb. Finally, the last muscle of the anterior forearm is pronator quadratus, underlaid in purple, a square-shaped muscle found deep to the other 2 muscles. It originates from the anterior surface of the ulna and inserts into the anterior surface of the radius. It is innervated by the median nerve. When contracted, it works with pronator teres to pronate the forearm. Today we learned about the superficial, intermediate and deep compartments of the anterior forearm and the muscles that lie within.